Hello, beautiful people. Today is 13th of September. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, first of all, in today's GS folder, we'll take a quote from the Kofi Annan, the former United Nations Secretary General, as well as the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize. He says, literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. Now, guys, excellently, he had summarized the qualitative enhancement that education brings into the life of an individual. It shows a path from misery, from despairment to hope. Now friends, in our GS paper number 2, the topic of education has been mentioned. So there you can utilize this particular quote as well as it can also be utilized into the topics related to the essay as well as some pair in GS paper number 4. So guys, that's it, and now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail.
Now friends, first of all, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper first. Guys, here we can see that the standoff onto the LSE with the India-China is still going on, and the people along with the Nathula border into the Sikkim, they are apprehensive that it will be detrimental to their business. However, guys, nothing different into this particular article. The same things are going on. Then guys, moving forward, here we can see that the Oxford vaccine trials will again resume. Now guys, in this particular respect, we'll see certain issues involved here. Then guys, moving forward into the city page, we can see that nothing important news with respect to the exam has been given. Only the regional news with respect to the COVID classified page, etc. Not important for our paper. So guys, now here we can see that the Indian brain templates have been developed by the Nimhans. Guys, this could be a very important development, and in this particular respect, we'll see the issues. Then here we can see that S. Jaishankar has made a kind of an address onto the intra-Afghan talk. So guys, this is first time that such kind of thing has happened. So guys, in detail we'll see this thing. Then guys, India is signing the more logistic pacts with the countries such as the Russia, Vietnam, UK. So we'll see the issues. Then moving forward, guys, here we can see that the plea to uphold right to appeal has been raised for against the Supreme Court. So guys, we'll see that what is the entire issue. Now again, the Afghan group intra-Afghan talks have been mentioned here, so I will club this article also. Then guys, onto the business page, here we can see that the Singapore Convention has come into force. So guys, for GS paper number 3, it could be highly relevant. We'll see this thing. Then moving forward, as friends, you know that today is Sunday, so in Sunday there are no editorial page, and in fact there is a science and technology page. However, much good articles are not there today's science and tech page. Guys, here we can see that can universal masking be a crude vaccine? So guys, nothing insight has been given. Only it has been said that as masks bring down the quantity of the pathogens, so it could be actually effective in this particular direction. Then guys, here the science behind air breathing scramjet engine. Then guys, this particular article provide talks about the groundbreaking inventions into the ICT. Certain excerpts from a book has been given here. So guys, though generalistic things are there, but we'll see what are the key points which are given here. Then guys, why phase 3 of vaccine trial is complicated. So I will club this article along with the Oxford trial article. Then guys, this article talks about the foreign funding and NGO. Guys, into the last week when the Ministry of Home Affairs suspended the licenses of certain NGOs, we have taken this entire issue very much comprehensively. Then guys, moving forward, now this article talks about the SEO. However, well, from past 1 week the SEO meets are going on. First of all, the defense minister visited Russia, then the foreign minister was also there, and just 2 days back we had seen that the 5 point agenda which has come, it was outcome of the SEO only. So all those things which are given we have already done. Then guys, on to the sports page, nothing important has been given, so that's it. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail.
Now guys, taking up the first news. So this particular news pertains to the Oxford vaccine trials which were repeatedly into the news in past 4-5 days. Now guys, I have told you many a number of times that everyday development with respect to the COVID etc. is not important. But why we are doing this particular news? Because this Oxford vaccine is the most potential vaccine which might become the first vaccine for the COVID-19, and therefore this particular thing becomes a little bit important. Guys, here I have clubbed 2 articles, one from the page number 1 as well as one article from the FAQ section. Now, before going into the news, I would like to give you some background first. Now, as I have told you that the Oxford vaccine is one of the most promising vaccine, just a few days back, their trials were suspended because it was said that one of the candidate participant who had participated into the trials, he developed a certain illness. Now again the trials are resuming. Now guys, talking on to that particular thing. First of all, this particular drug is being developed by the Oxford University. The research is being made by them. And then there is a Swedish British pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca which will be carrying the manufacturing task. Now guys, the medicine which is being developed, it is called as the Chedox 1. Now guys, the trial for this particular vaccine is going on countries such as the US, UK, Brazil, South Africa, as well as in India. The Serum Institute of India is conducting the trial. Now, as I have told you that one person developed a certain illness. So what was the name of that illness? He developed the transverse myelitis. It is a kind of an inflammation into the spinal cord. And because of this particular thing, the trials were suspended. Now guys, the trials have resumed again because it has just been observed that more than 18,000 participants are now receiving the vaccine, and if one person develops some kind of illness, then that particular thing will not be a matter of concern, seeing a very small ratio or a very small sample size. Moreover, till now it is also not very much clear that the person developed the illness because of that vaccine or because of some other circumstances. So for that particular thing, the studies will be carried and the trials have again resumed. Now guys, as we are talking about the trials of a drug, this year it becomes little bit important for our science and tech. So what are the stages of a clinical trial? Number one stage for any clinical trial is the preclinical trial, where the drugs, the toxicity levels, etc. are seen. The drugs are tested onto the animals such as mice. After that, it moves to the phase 1, where just a few participants, for example 20 to 50 participants, will be given the drug. They will be seen what impact the drug is making onto their body. It will be seen whether there are side effects or not. If that particular thing is satisfactory, then the drug is moved to the phase 2. Into the phase 2, it is ascertained that what dose is needed to be given to a person in order to see considerable improvement. After that, if this particular stage is clear, now in this stage 1,000 to 3,000 participants they participate. After this stage, it moves to the phase 3. Now into the phase 3, much more people will be enrolled, and here it will be seen that the drugs which is being developed, whether it is more efficient to the existing drug, or if it is not more efficient, if it is similar efficient but it is more safer or not. Fine, so all these things are seen. And as the disease, if there is no drug, for example right now COVID-19, it doesn't have any drug, so in this particular case it will just be seen that whether it is safe on human body or not. Now guys, into the phase 3, the principles of double blindedness and randomization are carried. What is this double blindedness? Now guys, here first of all, the participants who are enrolled, now here some participants will be given actual drug, some participants will be given the placebo. Placebo means that basically a kind of a mock drug, which is not at all a drug. Some people will be given the higher doses, some people will be given the lower doses, and here neither the doctor knows that who received the placebo, neither the participants know that whether they received the placebo or the actual drug. And in such kind of thing, they will be tested, they will be seen what improvements the drug is showing. They will compare the actual patients who received the placebo vis-a-vis the patients who received the actual drug. So on that particular basis, it will be ascertained that what impacts the drug is having on a body. And if everything goes well, then guys, after the phase 3, the clearance is given. For example, the FDA, EDMA, or into the EMA, or into the case of the India, there is the CDSCO which gives the clearance, and then the drug is given to the general population. And into the general population also, from time to time, the surveys are made that how the population is responding. Moreover guys, one more thing, right now this Oxford drug, it is into the stage 3, and in stage 3 not only the double blindedness and randomization are there, rather people from the diverse countries, diverse topography, climatic conditions, they are given the drug to see that what type of impact it is having onto the different genetic types. So guys, right now it is into the phase number 3. Now if we see around the world, then there are large number of drugs which are being made. For example, you can see that 93 drugs are into the preclinical trial, then 25 into the phase 1, 14 into the phase 2, 9 into the phase 3. Guys, some of the drugs have also been given the limited approval. For example, the Sputnik 5 of Russia, it has been given the limited approval. The China's drug has been given a limited approval. Limited approval means that on some classes of people it could be administered. For example, the frontline health workers, etc., army people, etc. However, guys, no drug till now has been approved, and Oxford drug might be the first one to get the approval. Now guys, in India also the trials were paused because the CDSCO, that is the Central Drug Standards Control Organization, it asked the Serum Institute, which will make for India, that why you didn't told us that into the Oxford the trials have been suspended. So for that particular thing, a show cause notice was sent, and after that it was suspended, but now it might be resuming again as the Oxford trials are also resuming. So guys, that's all about this particular thing. I hope you have understood it all, and now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular article pertains to the brain templates. Now, first of all, the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences had prepared the Indian brain templates. Now, what is brain template? They are the model images or model sample as how a normal brain look likes. Now, we know that people develop different type of neuro disorders. For example, there are the tumors, dementia, there are the problem of brain strokes, mood disorders, schizophrenia, autism. All these are problems because of some deformities into the brain. Now when we have the model images or model basically templates, we compare them with the actual picture of a person's brain and compare that where the fault is lying. So guys, in this particular direction, the kind of a diagnosis and the treatment approach that needs to be taken will be highly streamlined. So guys, a very good achievement by the NIMHANS. Now the brain templates have been developed, and along with it brain atlas has also been developed, so that a better comparing of a model brain with a person's actual brain can be made. Now guys, this particular thing is there, and in the respect of the technological advancements into the medical sciences, this particular thing could be a very good reference. Now guys, as we are talking about the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, it is based in Bangalore, and it has also been given the status of the Institute of National Importance. We know that certain premier institutions are given this particular status, and if they have it, they can apply for enhanced funding, autonomy, etc. Moreover guys, the institute, it is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and works as an autonomous institution. So guys, please keep it into your mind, because on such lines questions into the prelims could be asked. So guys, that's it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular article pertains to GS paper number 2, International Relations. Now, what has happened? India is signing large number of logistic agreements these days. Number one, what are these logistic agreements? Now, logistic support agreement are signed in order to enhance the interoperability of the defense forces. Fine. Now India is changing the policy with respect to the foreign affairs. Now India wants to become the net security provider, and to become the net security provider, we need to enhance the capabilities of our naval fleet. Now guys, we need to have cooperation with the different countries, so that our ships can use their port facilities, can use them for the refueling purpose. If there is some escalation into the future times, we can use their infrastructure into the times of crisis. So guys, all these things are made possible by the logistic agreements. Now if you remember, just a a couple of days back, I already discussed the India Japan logistic agreement, where the India and Japan signed the agreement on reciprocal provision, supplies, and service. Fine, guys. So that was just signed up to a few days back, and now India had signed is in a way to sign such kind of agreements with the UK, Vietnam, and Russia. And most probably, the Russian agreement will be the first among these three countries. It is expected to be signed into the October. Now, guys, the Russian agreement onto the logistic support is even more important because you might be knowing that towards the region of the Arctic, there is a discovery that huge mineral resources are lying there. And in order to carry a proper excavation of the mineral resources, we need to have accessibility of the port resources over there. Moreover, guys, the Northern Sea route is now being made. Now, guys, Northern Sea route will pass from the Baltic Sea and that particular region, and in order to make that route accessible also we need the infrastructure, and by signing the agreement with the Russia will able to use such kind of facilities. Guys, the name of the agreement is Agreement on Reciprocal Logistic Support. Fine. So in and after a few days, after a few months, the such agreements with the UK as well as Vietnam will also be signed. Now, guys, as I am telling you about the logistic agreements, first of all, India had signed the logistic agreements with all the Quad countries. Into the Quad or the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, there are four countries, that is Japan, India, US, and Australia. Japan, I had already told you just few days back we have signed. Then with the Australia we just signed recently when the virtual bilateral meet between the India and Australia held. With USA, already we had signed the LEMOA, COMCASA, JESOMIA, as but the BECA, the Basic Exchange Cooperation Agreement, is still not signed. Guys, fine, there are four agreements of four foundational agreements which USA signs with any country to enhance the military agreement, and out of those four, the three we have already signed. So all the Quad countries we have signed such agreements. So guys, it has a big strategic as well as economic as well as other kind of implications. Just please keep it in your mind. So that's it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, friends, this particular article pertains to GS paper number 2, the issues into the neighborhood. And the topic of this article is the intra-Afghan peace talks that are now starting. Now, first of all, before going into the article, I would like to give you some background. Now, guys, you know that the Afghanistan is in crisis. First of all, Afghanistan is a crisis since a very long time, but after 1979, the problems for Afghanistan has increased much. First of all, Soviet Union invaded it, then it became a proxy ground for the countries to fight their battles. However, we'll not go into that particular thing. Now, the present crisis in Afghanistan started after 2001 when the Al Qaeda attacked the World Trade Center into the USA, and Taliban gave the refuge to the Al Qaeda into the Afghanistan. So, in order to stop Afghanistan to be the breeding ground for the terrorism, the USA and the allied forces, they landed in Afghanistan, and since then, now nearly 20 years have been there, and the Taliban, US, they are fighting into the Afghanistan. The economy of Afghanistan has been shattered, there is a political stability has been shattered, and a large number of social problems are also there because of this particular thing. So guys, in order to end this particular thing, the Doha agreement was signed this particular year into the February, and into this Doha agreement the Taliban peace deal has been signed. Now guys, it has been said that now USA is the principal architect of this Doha agreement. It has been said that the USA and allied forces will pull out of Afghanistan into the next 14 months if Taliban agree that they will not conduct the violence. Now guys, as I have told you that USA is the chief architect into this deal, USA signed the agreement with the Taliban. It signed a separate agreement with the Afghanistan. Fine, but now there is a problem that in the Afghanistan, Taliban is there and Afghan government is there. Between these two, the talks were not have the talks between these two have not happened, and for them now the intra-Afghan within Afghan talks are starting. So into these intra-Afghan talks, the Afghan government as well as Taliban, they will be signing the agreements that how the cooperation can be enhanced. Now guys, for so many months they are trying to talk, but there are certain contentious issues. For example, the prisoner release. The Taliban wants that all the prisoners of nearly 5,000 prisoners which are there into the Afghan jails, they should be released. Some of the prisoners, they are guilty of very serious offenses such as the bombardments, mass killings, etc. But so guys, the Afghanistan government was a little bit apprehensive, but now it has been decided that they will be released and they have come to a negotiating table. Fine, so this is the background. Now why we are seeing right now it into the news? Because guys, this is the first time that any Indian official has addressed an organization or has addressed a meet where the Taliban members are present. India holds a official policy that we will not talk to the terrorist and we don't recognize Taliban as a legitimate stakeholder. But now the Jaishankar has made an address to the intra-Afghan talk and there Taliban was also present, and this is the first time such thing has happened. Fine guys. Now guys, with respect to the Afghanistan, whenever you are writing up question, because right now this year it becomes very important, please use a phrase that India's policy with respect to the Afghanistan is motivated by 3 red lines. That is, the peace talks should be Afghan led, Afghan owned and Afghan controlled. We don't want that other countries such as China or USA give too much of interference into the talks. So guys, this is the India's own version. However, India should not be completely limited to these 3 red lines. India actually needs to be an active stakeholder because anything into the Afghanistan will be having a large number of spillover effects into the India. So guys, on that particular respect, just please keep it into mind that any stability will need to be induced in Afghanistan in order to make India more strategically safe. So guys, that's it about this particular issue. I hope you have understood that why it is right now into the news. And now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular article pertains to the FCRA exemptions. FCRA stands for the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. This particular act was passed in 2010, and according to this particular act, any organization, it needs to register with the Ministry of Home Affairs if it wants to receive the funding from any foreign sources. Now guys, just yesterday there was a news where I have taken this FCRA article because yesterday it was said that the PM Cares Fund, it has received the exemption from the FCRA. Fine. Now it was asked that how FCRA's exemption was given to the PM Cares Fund, because FCRA's exemption needs to be given only to those authorities which are either established by government or are being audited by the Controller Auditor General of India. But into the case of PM Cares, neither it is being audited by the CAG, nor government says that it is government owned. Government says that it is a charitable organization made under basically it is a charitable organization working for the relief measure. Is it clear? So how the exemption was given? So guys, in that particular thing, it has been made clear by the Ministry of Home Affairs that to anybody they can give the clearance, provided it is not a political party. Fine. So guys, just that clearance has been given. However, yesterday I have discussed this article already extensively. So guys, just that's a brief update here, and now we'll move to the next article. Now friends, this particular article pertains to GS paper number 2, constitutional rights. Now, into the past few months, we had seen extensively the contempt of court issue, because the Prashant Bhushan, senior advocate, he was charged for the contempt of court as he made certain tweets in which he questioned the integrity of the Chief Justice of India. Now guys, in this particular respect, we had seen large number of editorials where we had discussed the Supreme Court judgments, we had seen the historical background, the constitutional provisions, problem, all these kind of things. Now, what has happened? The Prashant Bhushan had said that there needs to be some provision for the appeal against the contempt of court. Is it clear? Now, first of all, we know that there is 1971 Contempt of Court Act, where it has been said that the Supreme Court as well as High Court can issue the contempt if somebody violates either the order which was given by the court or if they try to scandalize the authority of the court. Now guys, apart from the Contempt of Court Act 1971, such powers are also given into the Constitution of India under Article number 129 and Article number 250. Fine. Now, the Prashant Bhushan was charged for the contempt by the Supreme Court. Now, guys, just one value addition I would like to give. See, there is the theory of principle of natural justice. Okay. And according to the theory of principle of natural justice, it has been said that fair justice or basically impartial justice needs to be provided to everyone. Now, into the contempt, you will see that what happens. Supreme Court is the one who is suing a person, and the Supreme Court is again the institution which is deciding. So what is happening? The same person institutes the charges and the same person listens to that particular charges. Now guys, under the principle of natural justice, one cannot be the suitor as well as a judge, but in the Supreme Court this particular principle is being violated. Therefore guys, it has been said that there needs to be a provision for the intra-court appeal. Within the Supreme Court, there needs to be a provision where a person can appeal if he thinks that his contempt case was decided not into the best of the interest. So guys, such an appeal has been made and a very valid legal as well as constitutional implication have been raised here. So guys, just please keep it into your mind, because if a question comes, do provide such a dimension also. It will give much authenticity to your answer. So that's all about this particular issue, and now we'll move to the next article. Now friends, this particular article pertains to GS paper number 3, ease of doing business. Now here we can see that Singapore Convention on Mediation comes into force. Now before going directly into this particular news, I would like to give you some background and then I will explain you. Now guys, what happens? Right now, as the globalization had started, there are corporates who are working into the different countries, and when they work into the different countries, there are large number of domestic laws which they have to follow, and many a times there is a violation, and because of that particular thing, the sanctions are basically the kind of legal implications are imposed onto the companies, and there are diverse such kind of disputes which go on. Now guys, into such kind of possibilities, always the MNCs or the corporates, they prefer those countries where if dispute occurred, the resolution is very much easy, it is very much fast, and it is not against the interest of the corporates. Is it clear? Now guys, the countries which will provide such kind of environment, they will obviously be having a good kind of ease of doing business, and corporates will prefer those countries, and as a result the FDI will increase into those countries. Is it clear? Moreover guys, the World Trade Organization also aims that the dispute resettlement of the corporates should be very much fast. Is it clear? Now guys, when we talk about the dispute resettlement outside the mainstream judicial channel, there are three ways of dispute settlement, that is the arbitration, conciliation and mediation. First of all, what is the difference between these three? Now arbitration is this, that party A and party B who are having the dispute, they will go to a third party, that is party C, which will be a tribunal. Now tribunal will hear their argument and will give a binding kind of award, both which have to follow. So this is the process of arbitration. Then the other is conciliation. Now what is a conciliation? In conciliation, the party A and party B will appoint a conciliator. That conciliator will hear both of them's argument and then will give an award, but that award will be a non-binding award. If both the parties agree, they can accept it, otherwise no, they can reject it. Then guys, the third way is the mediation. Now what happens into the mediation? The party A and party B will find a mediator. Now this mediator will not be giving any award, rather this mediator will help both these two parties that they on their own terms reach to a mutually acceptable solution. So he helped them to negotiate. Is it clear? So this is the mediation. Now mediation is one which is the most preferred, because here as the parties themselves are coming to a mutual agreement, basically there is a possibility that such kind of solution will be sustainable into the long term. Now guys, institutional mediation solutions needs to exist into a country. Now what is this Singapore Convention? The Singapore Convention provides a kind of a streamlined uniform mediation framework for the member countries. Is it clear? Now guys, this Singapore Convention has been signed by India, and just on 12th September 2020, this Singapore Convention has come into force. It means that the corporates who are operating in India, as India is a signatory of the Singapore Conventions, the mediation process in India will be streamlined. And because of this particular thing, the ease of doing business of India will further improve. Is it clear? Because the dispute settlement will be fast, it will be more elaborate, it will be more clear. Fine guys, so this is the entire issue which has been mentioned here. However guys, one more information. The Singapore Convention, it also known as the United Nations Convention on International Settlement Agreements Resulting from Mediation. So this is the formal name of this particular convention. So I hope you have understood it. Friends, please do utilize it into the ease of doing business. If a question comes in GS paper number 3 as well as into for the prelims also, please refer the area where the Singapore Convention is working. It is working for the mediation. So that's it. Now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this article is from Science and Tech page, and this article contains the excerpts from a book onto the computer sciences. However, very much such kind of information has not been provided, which will keep you stunned. Very basic kind of information has been given. However, very briefly we'll see the gist of this entire article. Now guys, it has been said that into the last 55 years, much groundbreaking discoveries into the information and communication technology has happened. So here the 6 such kind of breakthrough points have been listed. So just will into a linear manner we need to see. First is the Fortran, that is the formula translation. This was formula translation was the first major breakthrough. Around 1957, a discovery was made that how the machine language, the computer language, the binary language, that is the language of zeros and one, how it can be converted to the human readable language. So the Fortran was a translation language of binary into the human readable language, and because of this particular thing, the computers became much more usable for the people. Then guys, the second breakthrough has been called as the development of the integrated circuits. Before the integrated circuits, the vacuum tubes were used, and the computers were very big devices. They used to occupy a big room, and their special air conditioning needs to be there. So basically they were very sophisticated devices. But by coming of the integrated circuits on a very small chip, such basically complex circuits can be aligned that the size of the computers became very much small. Then guys, the third breakthrough has been the compact databases. Now, earlier you know that the storage capabilities of the computing devices were very much restricted onto the floppy tapes, onto the magnetic tapes, the information was to be stored, and that too into the physical form. Now, the database have become so compact that within a very small chip you can store tons of information, and not only into the physical but into the virtual form also you can store information, for example into the cloud. So such databases are a very important breakthrough. Now guys, your Aadhaar is an example of a database. Your information, your age, your name, your address, your fingerprints, everything is stored into a one stream of data. So such databases will be helping even into the future to bring the kind of a good governance, to make evidence based policy making, and all these such kind of things. Then the next is the discovery of LAN, that is the local area network, by which the computers could be connected into a network. Now guys, the LAN, it was introduced by the Norman Abramson group in Hawaii. Fine. Now guys, on as originally it was introduced as Aloha Net, and then working on that particular principle, the Ethernet, etc., also got developed. Then guys, the personal computers, this is the most important discovery. Personal computers, not only they were affordable, but they were also accessible to everybody. So now you know that everybody is using them. It is because of their invention. Then guys, storing confidential information via encryption. Now basically your facial recognition, your all the kind of information, for example your thumb impressions, they are encryptedly stored into the computing devices. So because of this particular encryption, a confidence has been bestowed into these technologies by the users, which have further proved their better acceptance. So guys, these are certain of the breakthrough points which has been mentioned here. So guys, just that's it, a kind of a journalistic overview. You don't need to go too much into the deeper details of every one discovery. However, if a journalistic question comes, please do mention these points. So that's it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now guys, this particular article talks about the science behind air breathing scramjet engine. Now first of all, why we are reading the scramjet engine? Because the DRDO has just launched the hypersonic technology demonstrator vehicle, which flew at the speed of 6 Mach. Is it clear? It has been said that it is a kind of a flight to make the Sashakt Bharat. Fine guys, now such thing has been mentioned here. However, just a couple of days back, 4 or 5 days back, already on to the 8th of September at this particular timestamp, we had discussed the entire issue with respect to the scramjet. What are the Mach, what are the subsonic, transonic, supersonic, hypersonic, what is the principle of this particular scramjet engine? All these things we have already discussed. So guys, I hope you have already seen it. If not, then you can refer to this particular discussion. So friends, that's it. I hope you have understood them all, and now we'll move to the question section.
Friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. Question number 1 is with respect to the Climate Smart Cities Assessment Framework 2.0. Please read the statement and identify the incorrect code. Question number 2 is with respect to sites. Please read the statements and identify the correct code. Question number 3 is with respect to Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Please read the statement and identify the correct code. Question number 4 is with respect to the tribes. Please read the statement and identify the correctly matched pairs. So guys, that's it. Today being Sunday, will not be having the mains questions. So friends, that's all for today. I hope you are liking our discussion. Thank you so much.